Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everybody, sorry I'm late. Just rushing around as usual. Okay, so today is Monday the 26th of March 2018. Myself and John are here, and yes, it's the weekly Noyantis Usergroup Meeting. As usual, I will start with any particular updates and give you a snapshot of where we're up to, and then we'll cover any questions people may have. Let's just open the questions box here, so I've got it. Now I know one of the requests I've had for today is, can we go through just some of the recap of some of the basics? So we shall look at that. But if anybody else has any questions, by all means, let's get them in the question box. We'll open the mics up and we'll cover we'll cover the topic and the subject. Okay, so updates. The calendar has had an update. It was actually released today, version 4.04. One of the facilities which we've just added to it is you can now add the calendar to the application frame, should you wish to do so. You've always had the ability to be able to add a reminder facility to the application frame, but now we've given you the ability to actually add the calendar to the application frame itself. So now you could actually have the calendar open up and dock itself to whichever side you want the calendar to do so, or you could have it floating, so you could actually have a floating calendar. So basically, that's a new facility which has just been added to 4.04, and that's available for download today. The report control did want to try and get released today, but as I say, there was a particular problem. There was just to do with a particular customer. So if anything, I might have to try and, depend on the customer feedback, if they got in touch with me, I might have to cut this short today, but we'll try and not do, for obvious reasons. So basically, the report control is almost there. You've now got new settings. This is covering some of the things we've mentioned in the previous weeks. So you've now got new settings on the track bar, which is one of the other things which was outstanding from the last couple of weeks, and we want to get released. So we go to track bar now, and we have our incremental style, which has been introduced. This is coming in 4.02. The default, which is basically keeping it in backwards compatibility mode, if you will, is numeric, but you can go to date, and then you can actually tick which days of the week you would actually want to get it to trigger. Likewise, if it's time, you can say basically what time intervals you would want it to actually display the label, if you will. So that's the new changes to the report control. So they'll be coming out very shortly. Like I say, want to actually get it released today. That's how close it is. It was just the code for this just needs a case statement and so on, and then it's good to go. So they're the updates. So, questions? Questions or ideas? No? Very quiet, everybody.
It's quiet, isn't it?
Isn't it? Very, very quiet. And the person who wanted to actually cover the actual basics was here, and then they've just disappeared. Oh, are they? They're here. Oh no, they're here. Sorry, we just go past them as new attendees joined. So I might put them in the spot. Antonio, if you've got your microphone open, let's just open it. I'm not sure Antonio has got a microphone. No, it's not opening. Okay, well, Antonio, if you have any questions, please type them in the question box. Or, of course, if you do get a microphone, let us know and we'll open it up. But in the meantime, we're just going to cover quickly, until we get other questions, some of the basics. So just let me make a note what I started to do is make sure that when these videos are uploaded, right, sorry, I just got a question. What I started to do is these videos, when we go up to YouTube, we're trying to get descriptions on there as well now. Okay, so Antonio, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, you're open. That's great.
I'm sorry, I had problems with my mic. Sorry.
No problem. Okay.
Well, I'm a first timer, so bear with me, okay?
So basically, what we were going to say is the format of these is very much we try and spread the knowledge for everybody. So covering basics is as good a topic as anything. So basically, any questions, you're like you say, you're a newbie user, if you will, to this. I'm not saying you're a new developer, but you're a new user to the to our products. So is there any particular thing you want us to cover? Do you want us to go through the basics as a recap?
Well, I was playing around during the weekend with a shortcut bar.
Okay, yeah.
I was kind of looking into the example app, but I realized for me it's just to just be doing it by myself. It's gonna be kind of slow. So if you could cover that, at least the very basics of it, I would be very, very grateful.
Fine, no problem whatsoever. Okay, so let me just create a thing for today. Just on the other screen, it won't be a second. So 2018-03-26. Basically, we do keep the examples, so if anyone ever saw, and this is for everybody, if you saw a particular webinar and you go, oh, Andy, in 19th of March 2018, you did such and such thing, can you send us that? We do keep anything that we manipulate on the day, we do keep copies of, so you can always ask us and we'll send you the particular apps. So it was the shortcut bar we wanted, so let's just get the example ready. So we want our webinars and today. So this will just upgrade because it's in a previous Clarion format. Okay, the very basics. As with any of our products, we start right at the global extension. So we add a global extension template. Without that, you wouldn't be able to add any of the products onto the actual windows because they all require the global extension to be present. So we add the global extension template. For this one, it happens to be shortcut bar. We choose a particular format. So I'm going to choose 18.3, which is the latest CodeJot version that is released. By choosing a predefined version, you'll notice that the specify version has been disabled. We're not going to use a hotfix or the Unicode version. And we are going to choose a particular theme. So we're going to go with Office 2010. Now, the subject of themes, basically, each of the controls supports different types of themes. Some are built in, like the native WinXP and the Office 2000 are built into the control. But by far the most common now and the most popular are the Office 2010, 2013 and 2016. There's also Windows 7 and a couple of the Visual Studios, which aren't too bad actually from a style point of view. So for today we're going to go with Office 2010. Okay. Within each theme file you do have different styles. So for 2010, I know that it comes predefined with 3 different styles, black, blue and silver. If we was to choose a later version, let's say 16, then there are quite a few others what are in there. And these are all built into just one file. So when you go to distribute this with your application, you'll be distributing just one file. In this one, it'll be Office 2016 DLL. For 2010, it'll be Office 2010 DLL. So we'll choose the Office 2010 with the style blue. And we're going to say basically from a folder point of view, we're going to have that file in the same as our exe. So we're not going to choose a different folder. Okay. The image resource, I wouldn't worry about. That's more of an advanced technique where you can, if you wanted, any compiled icons, rather than compile the icons, maybe you've got the similar icons in a multi-DLL solution in various different apps, and rather than compile them into each of the apps, and so, which means if you ever changed an icon, you'd have to recompile everything, you could technically put the icons into just one resource DLL, which you create yourself in Clarion, and then basically say what the image resource DLL would be. But we're not going to use that here. We're just going to go with the standard user current exe. If you was multilingual, you wanted a different language, the application to be in a different spoken language by default, then that's where you will specify the language DLL here. So the CodeJot control, if I just bring this into view, the CodeJot control comes with various different languages. So we'll quickly cover that. 18.3 is the version that we're on today. You go into the bin folder, then you go to translations, and you'll see, if we just put it in type order, I forget just how many there are. There are 35 different languages, so it's quite well supported. So one thing you will notice, should you ever need it, is I'm just going to cut that mic just 1 second. Should you ever need to modify the content of the DLL, so let's say we was choosing, we'll put it back into I'm just trying to find one. There's French, say. If we wanted to change the content of the French DLL, which is supplied by CodeJot, but we're not quite happy with a couple of the translations, then what you would do is use they've got a language editor. It loads the contents out of the XML. It has a look at the current translation. So, for example, if we bring this in, we can see there's some of the translations that it knows of. They're the internal IDs, and this is the French equivalent, like anniversaire for birthday, that type of thing. So basically, you could take those, modify it in their language creator, and then recreate the language DLL. So you're not bound just to their language settings. You can actually override it and put your own language settings into their own DLL. So that's where you would put the content of the DLL on a global extension template. Okay, onto the register tab. Now for today we're going to use RegFree COM. The free settings are, again, we're covering the basics, do not register. So that means the program's going to expect the control to already be registered on the destination PC. And some users do that. They have their installer script. We use Setup Builder, it's a very good product. They have their installer script, basically register the controls when they install. That's fine, that's one option for you. There are a couple of drawbacks, of course. Let's say you're using the shortcut bar, which we've got here, and we're going to use version 18.3. But another application, nothing to do with your business, nothing to do with you, completely different application, is also using CodeJot controls on the same machine, but they're using an older version. The two can reside on the same machine, but Windows, by design, will only post events back to the last version of the same OCX, by name that is, registered within Windows. So if they was to install a newer version, and you're on 18.3, you're on 18.3, they in the future go and put a new program on, which is 18.4, then it could affect the callbacks of your application. So that is one of the downsides. So you've got the do not register and let your installer do it. You have got register within Windows, and this is where the application, your application, will attempt to do it. It will require sufficient access rights, of course, because you are technically registering an OCX control at runtime. So as long as your application is run with sufficient rights, it will work and it will do it for you. If it doesn't, then it will fail and it will display a message. And down here is where you can say, there's the message. Location-wise, we're going to say it's in the current working folder. Well, actually, we're not going to use that because the best option is RegFree COM. So, sorry, I've got a question, but I'll open that up in a second. If you're using RegFree COM, you would need it to be carrying 9.1 onwards. But if you are on that version, then it's the best option to go with. There's a couple of extra things you need to bear in mind when you go to ship your application, but they're very, very, very simple things to do. Okay, we're just going to open a mic up because we've got a point on that. So it's Roberto. Where's Roberto? Hi, Roberto.
Hello.
Hi. So what are we saying here?
Well, I had a problem with Windows Server 2016.
Okay.
Running RegFree. I don't know if it's the version I'm using of the CodeJog or what, but it would not run RegFree on Windows Server 2016. It was just GPF whenever I tried to init in this case, it was just the graph control. And so when I tried to init it, it would just GPF, immediately.
Okay. Well, we're running 2016 here, server 2016, obviously on our server. So what we'll do as a test at the end of this is because we're going to do a shortcut bar example here, but then we'll also do the charting one, again, RegFree COM, and then we will try them on the 2016 while we're here.
Yeah, I was using, I think, 17.3. It might be ActiveX. I don't know. But what I had to do was just take off the RegFree and just register it myself. But if it's not, if it's already registered, it should grab the registered one first. But apparently not in that operating system. It doesn't, and it was just GPF. So I had to go.
Well, it would depend. If the manifest was still pointing to the RegFree COM settings, then it would take those by default, even if it was registered. Right. So, but we'll try the test. So we'll complete these basics, and then when we've got these successfully done, we will try that test, both 18.3 and 17.3.
All right.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. And Bill, we just had another question quickly on RegFree COM. So it's a popular subject, so it's worth covering the RegFree COM settings. So, hi, Bill.
Yeah. Hey, Andy. Good morning, everybody. I was just reading about this about an hour ago.
Okay.
And I guess it just applies kind of across the board to all the apps, but it says that there has to be pick up the manifest for the OCX.
That's right. We're just going to cover that very thing next, so I can demonstrate exactly the difference between a non-RegFree COM and the RegFree COM.
Okay. And then my other question in that was, and you might have covered it, and I was kind of doing two things at once there, was does that require, using RegFree COM, does that require the user have admin privileges?
No, it's quite the opposite. The way technically RegFree COM works is it starts up the application using the settings from a manifest, so which we will cover in a second. But then technically what happens is when you run your application, it makes a virtual copy of the user's registry, the Windows registry for that particular user. Now, of course, that user, because it's a virtual copy, it's not stored on disk or anything like that. It's literally stored just for the environment of your application running in that one session. The minute you close your application, that bit of memory is destroyed. That registry is destroyed. Okay, so it's just a virtual copy which is created live for your application. And because it's bound just to your application has got admin rights over it because it belongs to it.
Understand.
So basically, it can do whatever it wants with that version of the registry. So what it actually does is it registers the control, or make sure it's registered if it's not. But basically, make sure that version of the control is registered, runs it, so on and so forth. The minute you shut down, that virtual copy's gone, and the Windows is none the wiser, so to speak.
And this is kind of off topic from Noyantis, but I've got another program that uses ActiveX DLLs.
Okay.
And I looked, and I was doing a search this morning to see if that had a manifest for it, and I never did find a manifest for it.
Well, to be honest, they don't. Some people might ship them with manifests, but it's not the norm. You have to create them yourselves, which is really terrible because we'll show you just on a couple of these in a second what some of the RegFree COM settings are, and they're quite scary because they're really detailed. So to expect you to manually put them in is a bit crazy. We create them. And I've got to admit, I use it's a Clarion developer called Dave Bratovich, Integrity Systems. He has an application which
I looked that up this morning, and
I can't say enough good things about it. Basically, all the RegFree COM, we've done all the work to tie in the RegFree COM, so on and so forth. But the actual core settings, I would have to be there forever and a day finding them all out and typing them all into a particular file, whereas I use Dave's program, which kicks them out into a particular clipboard for me. Into a screen. I just copy it to the clipboard and put them into the places I need in my templates. So, yes, basically, I can't say enough good things. I can actually demonstrate it going in a second just to show you in action. I'm sure Dave won't mind. But just for example, if we take a look at this, so this is, that's the Chillcat. Well, it's as good as any. It's not CodeJot because this isn't necessarily just a CodeJot thing. This is a RegFree COM thing. So we can see for this one version of Chillcat, these are the settings which you would have to have.
Wow.
In your manifest. So you would need to basically go and calculate each one of these, the CLSIDs, for each part of it. So if we go to some of the CodeJot ones, let's say shortcut bar's only small. It's only got 3 parts to it: the bar, the caption, and the bar, and the global settings, really, if you will. But if we go to some of the bigger ones, you see the calendar.
Case sensitive too. So
yes,
you can ruin it with just one letter.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if the application, if these settings aren't right, your application won't start. You could try forever and a day, and the application just won't start because they've got to be spot on. So you can see here with some of the chart ones, there's different styles of charts, so there's different things. So my point is, there's a lot of settings for you to do manually, and it'd be a lot of work. Now I'm going to show you how easy it is with ours, and we'll quickly, after we've done the basics, remind me, and we'll quickly do this. In fact,
that was a topic on
on
Skype this morning, and it got me thinking about it. And they did have a link over to Dave's website.
It's genuinely very good.
And I looked at it and I said, well, gee, I ought to bring that up during Andy's session this morning just to find out if it's something that's really needed or not. And it looks like we really need it.
Well, this is an older version I'm running. I bought the latest version of him and so on. I've just not applied it. I think I actually need to speak to Dave about it. But this is an older version. This is his actual program. And we'll choose a particular control, and I'll say I want the RegFree COM settings for it. So this is you would manually be creating your manifest, of course, but what it does is it scans anything what's on your machine, So this is all the built-ins, ActiveXs, which of course are in there, all the Microsoft ones, which are part of Windows, all of the things. So we could say, right, okay, we want, I've never done it for any of these, but the Microsoft Outlook label control. Okay, I right-click, extract the manifest. Oh, there isn't one. Okay. See, I've never done it for that one. Let's choose a completely different one that we know we've got maybe our stuff of. So video CapEx. Okay, there's a video CapEx. That's not one of ours. Extract manifest. We give it a second. It's doing its magic.
You didn't say the magic words.
What are the magic words?
Abracadabra.
Of course. Yes. I can't believe it. And there we go. Basically, that is your manifest file. So from this point of view, and from plenty of others as well, Dave's an absolute genius on this, definitely. So basically, yes, I would, speak to Dave to see, does it support these, or would it work with these? Maybe send him a copy of the DLLs over, which he could try on his system, just to confirm it's going to work for you. But it's not as though he's doing it just for CodeJock or just for Chillcat. Basically, he's doing it for whatever is on the machine, and he basically interrogates it to see if he can try and get the information out. Okay. I'll just cut Antonio a second. So, Bill, does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. No, it makes perfect sense.
Okay.
I guess the only other question I might have on that is, it generated the manifest
content.
Code.
Yeah.
But do you have to then somehow compile that manifest?
No. Now I'll show you, because we'll go back onto the Noyantis stuff, and you'll see where that content relates into your application. Exactly.
Manifest file, and you link it to your normal manifest file. It's a little bit of work, but it's you can do it.
Well, very simple. It's nothing crazy, but yes, we'll show you. All will become clear in the next step.
Great, thanks.
No problem. Okay, so we diverted, but again, it's good content. This is the whole point of these things. So that's the RegFree COM, and we're going to go. Basically, what we won't do is I'll just turn that off. We'll compile our application, and here we've got our folder. And have we got a manifest anywhere? Yeah. So we've got a manifest. For that, we'll open the application manifest up, and it's just an applications manifest, which you would expect. Generated by Soft Velocity by Clarion, and there it is. General things like what controls within Windows do you want to use, so it's more of a visual setting and so on. We can see that's Soft Velocity stamping there, what type of application it is, and so on and so forth. So standard manifest, we'll leave that open, and there's only one manifest file in here. So if I got it into type order, you'll see there's only one manifest file. We are using the CodeJock control. So what we do need to do, if I've got that open somewhere, what you would need to do is RegFree COM, we said the OCX, we will do in a second, is in the working folder. And I would keep the OCXs in the same place. Well, you have to actually currently in the same place as your destination exe. So this is our output folder, if you will, for the exe. So I'm going to put the shortcut bar OCX into there. So we go back to our program. We go to the ActiveX, and we say register within Windows. Nope, sorry, use RegFree COM. Just go with current directory. That's a particular thing I'm looking at this, so you have to do that. So we'll go with that. The other thing you will have to do, so just to recap, we've done our first tab. We're on our register, and we said use RegFree COM. You will have to compile in your license code, because the application is going to basically take the OCX that's in that folder, which is basically what's in the manifest and so on and so forth, and it's going to start it up. So it's going to want to know the license of the particular control being used. So we do need to compile that in. So I will go to compile, enter the validation code, and what happens here, just to recap, I've done compile license into app. It will want you to add your CodeJock license code. Now I'm not going to show mine, but I will show you where to get it from. So basically, in this bin folder, exactly where you got the OCX file from, you will see a .lic file. Now that is your CodeJock license. It contains 3 lines. The third line is validate code, colon, and then your code. You need to copy the contents of the third line in its entirety. Okay, so if your validate code in that file said validate code ABC-DEF, you would enter it like such. Case sensitive as well. Okay, now I'm just going to take that and put that over there. And I'm going to go to my bin folder. Sorry, it's not letting me. Just 1 second. And I'm going to put that onto another window which I've already got open. Okay, I've just put my code in the clipboard. So now I can go back to my application. I can go over here. I'll just paste it in. And now basically I've just entered the content of the third line. Notice at this point that the first 2 lines here, the shortcut, the copyright, sorry, and the product ID are disabled. They're calculated correctly, 1998 to 2018, which should match the content of your the license file. The reason those 2 are disabled is we've chosen a predefined version. So I know from that I can calculate the contents of what the first 2 lines are going to be. If you want to use RegFree COM, you have to use a predefined version because I need to be able to pick up what the contents are for that manifest. So as I create the manifest for you, I need to be able to know what version you are using, so I put the right version in the manifest. So that's one of the prerequisites. So quick recap, we've chosen 18.3, we're going with Office 2010, which we need to copy that style file in. I'll do that in a second. We've said we want to use RegFree COM, and we've entered our license number. Let's have a compile of that, and we'll have our folder open here. And we want to go down to the manifest. That's compiled. Now we've got 2 manifest files. We've got the shortcut bar, which we'd had previously, and we've got a new one, which is extreme shortcut bar .manifest, which the template is now created for you. Okay, we go back because we've got that open. It should reload it, and we're looking at around this area here where it says /dependency, and now you'll see it's put another node in, and it's basically saying, well, you've got another dependency, and the dependency assembly is, and this is where we're saying its name. Now again, all these have to be correct. So there's its name, extreme shortcut bar, which of course the file is extreme shortcut bar.manifest. So that's how that ties together. A particular version number, 18300. That information would have come out of the manifest, which the manifest creator file from Dave Bratovich, Integrity, created for us, and the architecture type. We have a quick look at the other file that the template created for you, and you'll see how the 2 tie together. Basically, there's the file, extreme shortcut bar, and then this is the file, extreme shortcut bar.manifest, and you can see basically how the 2 tie together. That line there is the line that you would put into your dependency. So Bill, from your point of view, that's the type of thing you'll want to tie in on yours. This content is basically the contents of the actual manifest, the manifest output, if you will. Okay, so both of these, from a shipping point of view, both of those would have to be shipped with the application. So the manifest of your application, the updated one, of course, just in case from a settings point of view, and you add compile link in. Well, actually, I've got it linked, but it still regenerated it. Normally, to be honest, I untick that, so I know I've got to ship the manifest for each of the controls. So if I'm using shortcut bar and report control and calendar, I would have to ship 3 manifest files, one for the shortcut bar, one for the calendar, one for report control. So one for each of the files. So because I have to ship them anyway, I ship the one for my application as well. So normally I do have that unticked. So from a shipping back to our folders, you would have to ship both your manifests. Of course, you have to ship your exe, which is your application, but I think you already know that. And you have to ship the OCX file itself. Last but not least is...
Andy?
Oh, yes?
Also, I don't think you can link in the manifest file. I think you got to keep it outside.
I've had mixed results. I agree. I always untick it, so I always keep it outside. But I have actually... I think I've had it working where it has been compiled in, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, don't quote me on that. It might have been that I had it also registered on the machine, and so on and so forth. So yes, don't necessarily quote me on that. That's
one thing Dave was always pretty adamant about.
And it's definitely the default stance I would take as well. Definitely the default stance. So yes, basically. I would untick that and just ship it, because let's face it, you've got to ship the others anyway. So one extra manifest just keeps it all all tied in hand in hand.
Right.
So now one other thing, and this is very important with the later versions of the CodeJock controls, nothing to do with RegFree COM, it's just from a shipping point of view, is when we said we're using version 18.3, so we're in our 18.3 install folder, and you'll see under samples and then styles, you've got your particular files, and these are the style files. Forget these contents. This is just the actual how the styles are made up. These are the ones you're interested in. Now, we said we're using Office 2010, so we're going to pick that up and we're going to have that in our application folder as well. So I'll get rid of the others. And the reason I mention it in the later versions is always use the style file from the version that you are using, that you are basically, you specified. So if you said you're going to use version 18.3, use the style files from 18.3. If you're using 18.01, then use the ones from 18.01, and so on and so forth. Always keep them the same. In the past, it didn't really matter, but as CodeJock have put more and more detail into the into the style files, then they can actually cause an issue if you're using a mixture of older controls, newer controls, older styles, newer styles. So always keep them hand in hand, and you'll be good to go. That's basically a bit of a rule to follow. Got a couple of questions, but we'll just quickly recap on what we've got there. We're on the global. We said predefined version, chose our style. We've registered it using RegFree COM, or we're going to, and we've compiled our licensing. We'll cover the other things in a second. And hey presto, our application started up and it's loaded the Office 2010, and of course we've got our shortcut bars. So we'll just go to Antonio. He's muted. But Antonio, you were saying I think you were getting a blank area. Basically, it will just be one. It would be one of those particular settings which aren't there. So it's either you haven't got the OCX in the folder, or the manifests aren't there, or a combination of. But basically, that if you follow those rules, it will work for any of the products.
Yeah, I got that part working already. Basically, I was trying to. I was playing around with it, and I was trying to, make it look nice, kind of like the example app, but I couldn't figure it out so far. I mean, I know I will if I do it by myself, but I'm sure I'll take longer. I was wondering if we could go through some of the options.
In the example app, the example which Antonio is referring to is a training app that we did back at CIDC 2015. It was a Formula One example app. That's one you're referring to, isn't it?
That's not it. I just got that one. I worked on the weekend. I worked with the one I downloaded. So I don't know if there's a difference.
So is it this one which you're looking at here?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Is that the same one? It's not called Formula One.
No, this isn't the Formula One example app because that's more of a training app rather than an example app. This is the example app that comes with the template. The Formula One with the training application is an extra application.
Okay.
So, but if it's the Formula One example application which you're referring to, the training application, then in one of the steps we do use a shortcut bar, but then we remove it again and we go to a task panel. So it's not actually a shortcut bar that we're referring to, it's a task panel.
Okay.
So it might be, I mean, we'll do a couple of examples on this in a minute, actually, just to show some of the options, but we'll cover all the basics first, and then we'll put a couple of examples of a shortcut bar, a task panel, and a task panel inside of a shortcut bar, so you've got the best of both worlds.
Okay, great. Sounds great.
Okay. So, we've got a quick question on RegFree COM. So before we move and we're nearly finished the basics, but it's always good to recap. Bijan's got a question. So, Bijan, how are we doing?
Yes. Hi, Andy, Roberto, everyone. Hi. Yes, I have a question on the RegFree. I followed your instructions. I mean, I pretty much have it set up the way you described here, and everything works fine, except when I started distributing my app to some of the customers that have my app running on their own server, like in one case, there were like 15 users. And I noticed that most of them were using Windows 10. And so the only way to get the OCX to work was to run it as an administrator. So you have to right click on the icon. And believe me, it was the whole week I was dealing with them calling me. And I sent them the instruction with the video that you need to run it as an administrator in order for the OCX to register, but it's hard for them to follow. I want to find out if there's an easier way to deal with the registration on the local machine. If
it's RegFree COM, you shouldn't have to do that. Definitely don't have to do that. And I've tested this literally being a guest user. If you, going back quite a while.
Yeah, that's the benefit of the RegFree COM.
Yeah,
that you don't need an administrator to run it.
I think JP, even when RegFree COM, just towards the end of JP, that sounds awful, but one in the later days, I think his DMC application, he actually switched to RegFree COM and he had it running off a stick. So you could actually just not even install it, just have it on a USB stick and just double click it.
Yes, the only thing that I had different in my settings was when you had when ActiveX file location, you put current directory. I changed that to specify location.
No, don't. There's an issue there, so don't have that. Have it in the current working folder.
Okay. All right. Maybe that might be the reason this is coming up, because I'm noticing that even
reason would be if you installing it into program files and you're putting your OCX there, then you probably would need to have it administrating mode. So don't install it there. Install it some other.
Roberto, I have it. It's installing in on the server. There's a map drive, so the local exe is running the local user is running the exe on the map drive, and it's starting in that directory.
All right, it should work then.
Yeah, it should still work.
Maybe that's the only difference then. I put specify location and I put period /.
Yeah, no, if it's RegFree COM, I do need to look at getting that going, but for now, just have the OCX in the same location as the exe.
It is, but I don't know why I've always put in the period /, but I'll try that. But that's definitely.
Sorry, okay, you put that in just as right. I've got you. Oh yeah, no, just go with the current working folder, and then that way it won't try and append anything.
Okay, so therefore, if it's registered properly, the RegFree should not require the run as an administrator.
Definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely not.
Okay, good. Because that was, you won't believe how many calls I got last week just on that.
Well, it depends how your manifest is created also.
Okay.
Be sure that your app manifest doesn't require admin rights also. You might have that on also. Check your application, see its manifest.
So from this point of view, yes. Where are we?
Put as invoker, yeah. Configure the manifest there.
Yeah.
And put as invoker. Don't add, administrator mode there.
Yeah. So you won't need any of that. Just go with straightforward generate manifest. That's it.
Okay. Let me check mine. I think I have some other options there. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. And Bill, just one quick one on yours. Obviously you can manually manipulate the manifest yourself. You can use the application to generate you a manifest for the DLL, for this other third-party DLL, and Softvelocity added this ability here to add dependent assemblies basically to your application. Now, I've not looked at this for a while. It might have got better in later versions. I know in 9.1, I didn't think it was the best, I'll be honest with you.
They haven't changed anything on it.
Oh,
Nothing.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry, Bobby. Bob ever watches one of these back or Diego, but it's not the best. I think it can be better. Just a bit of work. Our templates do that work, and we kick out a very nice manifest. So basically, if you want your application manifest to include that dependent assembly, you're going to need to put in the things here. So let's call it abc.dll. It'll be something like abc.manifest. No, I think it's just abc.manifest. It'll be something like that. You put in a particular version, so it might be 18.3.0.0, that type of thing. I'm not even sure what you'll need for those, and the x86 architecture. But basically, whatever your settings are, and let's just go back to this. So if you can imagine if we was doing this manually, like I say, our template does it for you, but if we just did that, you can see here, that's the line what it's going to be creating for you. So it's a type Win32, the architecture is x86, there's the version, and there's the name.
Got it.
Yep. So it's in that particular section. We'll just come out of there. Dependent assembly.
But it doesn't create the dependent assembly file at all.
No, it won't do. You just add a line. It's up to you to create the extra file, and so on. And that's where Dave's app comes in.
You cut and paste that section out of his program into your own.
You could do that, yeah, and that's a lot easier.
Got it.
So, but I thought with just one more RegFree COM, we'll just mention it that you would have to, for third-party controls, you would have to manually do it yourself in there. Okay.
Roberto, I have a quick question for Roberto. I think he told me before that there was a way to unregister the OCX because I want to do some testing to make sure that
it would be
like a command line, right?
Yeah, so basically
you can do it with Dave's program too. He'll let you unregister, but yeah, you can do it from the command line. But you got to be sure that you're unregistering the correct OCX that you have registered.
Yeah,
you got to be sure that it's in the right folder and so on. And that part's not easier to try to figure that out. Hopefully you remember which one you registered.
No, I do remember.
Oh, okay. And then what folder? And then just put serves 32 and just put the /u. I think it's /u.
It is, yeah. I'm just quickly trying to shortcut.
Just put a /help.
No, just try it quickly. I know it is because I use it all the time myself. It'd be easy to type this to get back to it myself. I'm just gonna. No, it's not that. Sorry, it's what the hell is the thing? Right, 1 second. dir star.ocx. CodeJock. Right, after all that, fine. So it would be reg server 32 codejoc./u. Run
Slash
that
U. Okay.
as,
That'll uninstall it.
with an administrator rights.
Right.
Yes.
Because remember,
Also,
it would have been installed with admin rights, so you'd have to uninstall.
you gotta unregister the one that's registered in your folder. That's adamant. I mean, you gotta remember that.
Is that right? Okay. Yeah. I mean, mine is usually in the same directory that the.
Well, but if you go into your CodeJoc program files directory and just type register there, it'll register them from there.
I see.
And when you first installed, not in your clients, of course, but on your system, they would have been installed in the CodeJoc folder, because that's where the installer would have run. So
I see.
So.
Okay.
So you can, if you install it again, for example, in your folder, it'll take precedence over the other one.
Oh, okay.
It'll replace it. So you need to remember which one you actually registered last, because that's the one that takes precedence.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try, because I wanted to test it and make sure that the RegFree was working properly. That way I can uninstall it first.
If you have a look,
the easiest is to use.
From my testing point of view, not that. Basically, what I do, you see, I've got these folders here. Just open the location, and I've got all the different versions here where I can just uninstall.
Oh, okay.
So I just run them as administrators, and that's nothing more than basically going that exact thing. So when, let's say, I get a new version of CodeJoc, it's 18.4.0, I will run all the batch files as admin to make sure that I've got none of them installed, none of them registered on my system at all. Then I'll install version 18.4. When I run Dave's Manifest Creator, I'm not having to go through all the old versions of all the old versions of the CodeJoc controls. I've only got the very latest ones there, and then I know that I can just get the manifests of the very latest ones. So that's just a little step I do.
Well, I see. And so you have an /s at the end too. It's uninstall, and what's the /s?
Good point. I can't remember.
I can look it up and just help, I guess.
/s is silent.
Silent.
Oh yeah,
okay.
I don't want it to. Yeah, because it's a batch file. I don't want it to mither me. So for example, I know I don't think I've got 16.1 on there anyway. Oh, sorry, 16.3.0. But if I was to run it, basically, there you go. Off it's done.
Yeah, I see. Cool. That's what I'm going to do too. Yeah.
So
create some of these batch files. Okay.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Last but not least on the basics. And Paul, I know we've got a question regarding icons and Calendar Pro, so we will come with that, but we'll just try and tie up on basics and so on. So Paul, I've not forgot about you. We've covered the general, the register, and the ActiveX. The debug is for the debug view and also the ultimate debugger. So if you did want any debug in your application, then it does support debug view. You just tick that. It'll give it a little prefix. You can override it and type in your own prefix. And then you can also say whether you want to format that for use within the ultimate debug viewer class, utility, which I do. That's good. And last but not least is one of the core of our products, especially for the ActiveX, I should say, the ActiveX wrappers, is the callbacks. All the callbacks come back via the event func method. So we don't include that as a matter of course, because that really would flood the system. But there might be an occasion where you do need that, so you can tick that, and it will include what's going on in there as well. I think it tells you the actual event name that's coming back. So you can get to any of the debug information. It's just that can be a little heavy going. Okay, now this is an interesting one because we've had this mentioned just this week. So the very first one under performance, if you're going to be shipping your system to different countries where they use different locale settings, especially for the decimal point. Now this came about for the charting, and it was our friend here, Roberto, who actually reported it. If I remember rightly, basically on the legend of a chart, Roberto wanted the font to be something like 12.5.
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember that? Yeah, it's a while ago now.
Yeah.
And Roberto reported saying, Andy, the chart's not working. I'm just getting a white square. I'm not getting any chart, which I found very strange because that meant he was getting the chart initialized, but why couldn't we see anything? What was happening was that particular locale on that machine was a comma. The decimal was basically used as a comma. That's more. Yeah. So basically, the control wants it to be in one particular format, which not necessarily matches the locale of the machine. So to enforce that your application will work, so what was happening in that scenario was the font of 12.5 was actually coming out as 125, which meant it was a massive font. So the white square was actually the chart, but it was just like one fraction, if you will, because the title, the font was going to be so large, the whole chart was absolutely massive. So basically that was a fault. We recognized it, and now if we have this ticked, what technically happens throughout the whole application is it will, before issuing a command, it will check if there's any, I forget the way around it is, but it enforces that the decimal point is used for decimals, which is what the code control wants. So it will switch the locale of the machine, execute its control and switch it back. Does it very fast, obviously, but it still has to do it, so it will hit the performance. So if you don't need to do that on your destination machine, untick it, you will get a slight increase, speed increase. So that's one particular option. Another option is, and all you would really be doing here is taking out a particular if statement, but it will be called numerous times, is all of the products, the wrappers, they work on properties. So if we was to open up any of the controls, I'll just choose whatever CodeJot one. Okay, there's a flow graph. That's as good as any. We look at the flow graph and we can see some, just trying to find some particular properties. Okay, so we can see, let's choose the calendar because I know the calendar, I know that a lot better. We go to the active view of a calendar, day view, can copy, there we go, it's a Boolean, can cut. All of these are properties. And you imagine the initialization of a control and so on, we set literally sometimes hundreds of properties. So the set property is going to be called numerous times over. Now, I'm just going to cut your mic because I can hear some clicking away. What we do is we can support, again in the set properties, this idea of tokens. So let's say you wanted your system to be Spanish by default. So you can apply the CodeJot license file, of course, the language file, which will change any of the built-in prompts and options to the language of your choice. But any controls that you create yourself, so let's say it's a command bar and you created 2 or 3 buttons, they would be in the text that you've created them. And that's fine if you're only shipping for one language, but if you wanted to ship for multiple languages, then what we do is we allow you to basically do a find and replace on tokens. So you've got a global queue option, a global queue available to you, where you can say this token needs to be replaced with this word. And of course, depending on your language, you can set those options to whatever you need them to be as per your languages. So instead of insert, change, and delete, you might have a token of it could be square bracket ints, close, basically something along the lines of ints. And then for the replacement value, you could have whatever word you wanted it to be for the insert. So this really free format is just 2 entries in the queue for the tokens. What is the token and what do you want to replace it with? So anytime set property is called, it will go and have a look if any of the tokens are being used. Now, if you don't use that facility, again, you can turn that off and it won't bother checking to try and translate tokens, which will mean your building, your set properties will execute a tiny bit faster. So there's a little tip if you wanted to do that. And last but not least is the track mouse movements. You don't really need to know the events. The event func gets more than enough events as it is. And we don't need to know that the mouse is being moved around the calendar or moved around the chart. When it's clicked, it will tell you it's been clicked. That's not a problem. It's just literally the mouse movements. So by default, we turn that off to say, right, we don't need to be telling the user that this event has happened, which just gives you basically a bit faster execution in the callback events. Whew. Okay, so they are your global settings, your basics. They're the core ones you should really know and use. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Okay, well, to say the basics. I think that was actually quite good to have a recap, because people do forget, about especially the little performance ones. You can fine tune these and take them off. You'll get just a tiny bit of a speed increase, depending on the size and content of the thing you're building. Okay. While we're in this demo app, then there's one thing just to quickly show. We'll just go onto any of the windows. Doesn't really matter on any. Again, this happens to be a shortcut bar, but this will be the same approach for any of the products where you can add them in different modes. So actually, you've only got one on this. But basically, we go down to, now we've added a global extension. Now we can see that we've got shortcut bar controls available to us. If we hadn't added the global extension, this wouldn't be here. So if we click on that, we can see, right, it's a shortcut bar. We'll look at the description, make a note of looking at the description underneath, and we can see shortcut bar positioned. That means that wherever I draw the control, it's going to take on the dimensions of that. The position means just that. It's a position and basically the dimensions of what you draw. If it says docked, then it's going to be docked to whichever particular side you tell it to dock. Now that's going to be on that particular interface, and we'll have a look at one of these in a second. But basically, if you said docked, it will take on. Let's just show you. Let's go to the command bar, because that supports both styles. So back one, and just bring in the command bar example. So it won't be a second. Command bar, and we'll do the RegFree COM. So I'll bring this out of the way, so it's going to be easier for us. Actually, we won't do. We've done the RegFree COM. We'll do this other test, which we said in a minute ago. But okay, let's just open up, just to show the difference between docked and positioned. So on this window here, we've added the positioned. So the command bar itself is just dead small, just up in the top corner. Now I'm going to compile. I know that the example apps for this one is actually out of date. So I just need to go to the global and make sure we give it a theme to load. Otherwise you'll get a quick compile error. Definitely needs a default theme. Okay, so now there we go. We are on Office 2010. And I've just broken one of the rules which I said before, because I've got the style files of 18.3 and the version was 16.3.1. So a quick recompile, and now it looks different. So there you've just seen, even though we copied in the particular style file, it wasn't the one for that version, and you didn't get the style applied. You're lucky we didn't get a GPF. Always go with the matching versions. So we've got that. Now, on this window, which we just saw, the docking pane was dead small in the top corner, yet it's everywhere. We've got it here on the top, and we've got it down the right, and I bet we can pick this up and even dock it down to the left. No, we can't. So we'll look at the settings on that. Let's go back to that example. Command bars. And I think it comes under, there's so many settings on this, I forget which ones they are. That bar there. Yeah, it can be docked to the top and it can be docked to the right. So now we're going to say, and it can, we won't go with that bar actually. Oh, sorry. We'll go with one of the other bars. The fonts, so we know that can be docked. We'll say it can be docked to all the sides, and it can be floated as well. So we'll go to that example. There's our, is that the font? No, that's the font one, obviously. So now if we pick it up, now it can go down to the bottom, and so it is. And now I can't get to it, so that went my best. There we can. And now it can go to the left, it can float, it can go to the right. So basically that controls the docking. But from a screen design point of view, it's dead small. And that's because when it came to the command bars, we chose the docked. Now you can only ever have one docked because you only ever need one docked. That's why we haven't got it available as an option there. If this was a blank window, you'd have two options available there, one saying positioned and one saying docked. The positioned one, if we look at a positioned one, then we can see here, that's a positioned one. So on, so on, and so on. So we've got 4 bars there. We will still look at that, multiple bars, and you can see here, it takes on just the dimensions of its container. So that's the difference. Docked means the whole window is available to it. Positioned means it's however you, the dimensions that you draw it and the position that you draw it. And of course, if you was to resize, it will actually, I've not got resizer on there, but if you was to resize and you had a resizer template, it would actually go along with those resize settings. The container grows, the command bar would grow, or the ribbon would grow accordingly. So you've got a couple of options. The third option of adding the control is where you add it to the application frame. And like I say, at the start of the webinar today, for anybody who missed it, the calendar's just had a new update today, version 4.04, and that has now got the application frame extension as well. So now you can add a calendar to the startup of your application, a visual calendar to the startup of your application, should you wish it, should you want it. Okay, so add an extension is literally go to an extension, insert, and choose the extension that you want.
Is that on the frame you said?
The calendar, yep, yeah, that's released today.
But it'll work on the frame?
Yep. Yeah, do you wanna see it in action?
Sure. I mean, there's very little that you can do on a frame in Clarion. I mean,
oh yeah,
pretty much. If that's working on the frame, that's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, you are right.
Or is it a window?
Yeah, of course, it's a window. It's how we do our, So we just run this. Oh, you can see here's one I prepared earlier. I think I put it on a delay as well, so I'm not sure what delay I put it on.
If it was on that frame, it'd be pretty cool because it could kind of be like a background of it or something.
Oh, actually, I had it hidden. That was the last test I did. So let me just have a look at these settings. Oh, tell you what, no, don't want to do that. Just going to copy in the other instead. So into our examples, bring our calendar in. Thank you very much. And we've got a question on calendar icons, so we'll lead into that in a second before doing. Oh, we are just conscious of time actually, but we'll see how we go. To webinars. We've got quite a few webinars under our belt now. $18.3, Office 2010, yep, all good there. So our example app normally looks like so. So that's our example application, which is shipped. I'm just going to make this a little bigger. I'm going to have it so a calendar opens up to the left. So we'll make this is our application, make it a little wider. So adding to the app frame, we would go to the extension to the app frame. We'll say we want our new frame calendar. We want it to be docked left, and we'll give it a width of 250. Okay. Let's compile that, and we should see we've got a calendar left, because this is the app frame which you're looking at here, and this is just a MDI child window. So now we have our calendar running here on the app frame. Oh, the impression to the end user being the app frame. From a technical point of view, as any of our windows are, they're not on the app frame because
right, it's a window.
Yeah, basically Clarion doesn't allow you to do that. So what we do is we dock our own window to the dimensions that you tell us, and then we take charge of it.
Can you open another window on top of it?
Well, you'll be restricted down to the app frame. Oh, that's not a non-MDI.
Right, it's not MDI.
No, well, you wouldn't be able to, but that's by design. That's actually correct. If you've got it docked, then it's part of to give the impression it's part of the app frame, then it's not part of the client area. So you shouldn't be able to, an MDI child window shouldn't be able to go over the top of the app frame. That's the whole point of MDI. So no, you wouldn't be able to go over the top of it. I wouldn't want to.
Right, and you can't get the scrollers or things like that in there either. So, yeah. So you pretty much converted it into an SDI. Sort of.
Not sure. I'm not sure I follow. Say, in what respect? 'Cause, it's good. I'm not sure I follow.
An MDI frame will hold your MDI child.
Yes. A better example of this is the command bar one a second ago. Let's just open that one back up, because that's a better example. Okay, yeah. So this is from here, if you will, down to here is the client area of the application.
Right. And so if you open something up, it won't go out of that area.
No.
It'll stay inside it, and if it doesn't, you try to make it go outside that area, it'll just hide it.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And which can cause kind of a lot of grief, also. For example.
Oh yeah. I mean, and in my applications in the past, I've trapped when you moved a window. If you've gone beyond, then it bounces it back automatically. So if you were to pull that there, it would automatically move it back to the left. So it to stop the user, because it's a fundamental MDI fault there. That what's the point of having MDI if I can then go and get the window out of position? So okay, so that we've covered adding a positioned and a docked. So Paul, you had a quick question. I don't know if you've got a microphone, but it was, or if you are here, because I know you popped out. Paul, are you? You're here? Oh, great. So it was on the calendar, wasn't it?
Yes, I was just playing a little bit with the icons. So I see that in the events table you have spots for 5. Are they in any significant order? Just a very brief overview of that, so I can.
Yep, of course. Let me just
Thank you.
run this. Okay, so calendar supports icons, of course. Let's go into one of these. Here's one we prepared earlier, and we can see there's a couple of icons here. The calendar, each event will support any number of icons. Now, the 5 which Paul was referring to it's actually 9. It might be 5 on an older version. You might be on a really old version actually with 5, but yeah, it supports 9. Now that is, I don't know, I chose 9. Could be 10, could be 11, could be anything. It's just basically a number that I thought, 9 icons on a single event. That's quite extreme. I think you'll be okay at that. But of course, it could be any number. The control would allow you. I think you'd run out of painting space, but it would technically allow you to keep adding different icons. Or you've got an option to add the same icon numerous times. So if you add, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a scenario where you want the same icon. 5-star rating, so you give it 5 stars instead of, just saying just a star rating, if you will. So rather than just 1 star, you wanted to show a 5-star rating. So you could put 5 stars there and 4 stars for something else and 2 stars against another thing. So you've got the option of repeating the same icon should you add it numerous times, or it would trap. If you turn that off, it would trap and say, you've already added this, you don't have to worry about adding it again. But you can have any number. One thing to mention on icons is there's the icons here. If I was to switch this theme, let's go to theme selections. There's our icons, and we'll choose one of the newer ones, Office 2013. Your icons go, and that's not because we're doing anything wrong. It's because the theme settings don't support custom icons for those later versions. I don't know if that's a Microsoft UI standard limitation. It's probably a good question to ask Kojak, but I know when they say it's Office 2016 Excel and Office 2013 PowerPoint, then they do adhere to the Office. I mean, it's the Office 27 UI, not legislation, but basically the rules and regs of that UI. If you want to be able to use that, you have to adhere to the Microsoft standards of that. So maybe they don't support icons in later versions, but in 2010,
I see there that, for example, Meeting with Noyantis has 2 heads when you had the other view.
Yeah, so
there. See that, and there's a clock and.
That's in a markup example. So that's using XAML.
I see. Okay.
And yes. Now here's the thing. I did say custom icons because you do have built-in icons. So we could say private, and I will get a little lock, and I will say meeting, and I should get the two people. So they're and there's another one for the importance. Well, we haven't got it on here, but you've got one for importance and so on and so forth. So those are, as per, again, I think Microsoft support them, so Kojak will allow you to have them, but it's the custom icons. So if I was to go out and go back in, these icons here, so I've added an envelope and a different people one and so on, those are as per the Microsoft, the 2010 allowing that, the Office 2010. Sorry, I've just got one of the other phones going. And that particular user, there you go. No, undoubtedly you will phone back. So basically, yes, these icons, they are custom icons, and they basically, 2010 allows them, 2013, 2016 doesn't.
Okay. Okay, that gives me lots to play with then. Thanks, Andy.
No problem. Okay, so last but not least, what we'll quickly do then, because we've only got a few minutes to go, is Antonio, if you're still there?
Yes.
Okay, we'll quickly open the task panel example, because we did promise to do that to start with. Is that okay?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so what I will do is, and we'll do a mixture on this one. We'll open up the task panel. We'll probably go a little faster, so I'm not going to cover the basics in this because we've covered the basics in all of the others, and the beauty of it is they are all the same. So I will copy in what we need, the styles for it. Let's close some of these. We'll choose a theme. I might as well choose the Office 2010 again. Although we'll choose 2010 black, so at least you get to see something a little different. So we are using 18.3. We are going to use 2010, and we'll choose black. Okay. So a task panel. This is a task panel. You can have them as links, or you can have them as buttons. So you can see well, actually no, that's a group, but you can have these as actual buttons. You can have different options. So you can say I want them to be able to be movable for the user, and you can save and restore them. So we can say, okay, we'll allow them to be moved within the group, so the user could reorganize their links, their options. Or we could move them within the control, so we can go, okay, that can actually go all the way down there, whereas that can come all the way up. So that's a task panel. Very powerful. We used to use that in the style of buttons. So let me just change that particular option. So we can go to our task panel. Trying to see what the option is. Is it on the groups? I think it might be the group. Go to the items. There, we want it as no, it's not that one. Okay, we'll just try this hide content. I can't actually remember the setting. It's a while since I've used it. Yep. Mustn't have been that one. I kind of thought that was, though, to be fair. Okay, well, let's not digress on that. I'll come back to that in a second. But basically what we'll do is we're going to have we're going to add another task panel to this. So we'll go to our window and give ourselves a bit more room. Let's grab all of those. Oh, let's do that again. Let's grab all those. So they're well out of the way. Okay, so now we've got one task panel, and I'm going to create another task panel as well. Doesn't matter the size, and you'll see why in a second. Okay, so we'll give that a positioned task panel. Okay, 2. I want to give it a better name than that, to be honest, but okay. To get the content in there, we create some groups. So I will have group 1 and give it some content. So everything's got to be unique. So it will be group 1 dot item 1. Item 1. I'm sure it's going to bug me. And we'll have a item 2. Give it an icon as well, this one. Nice icon, something like that. And if you prefix the icon with a tilde, it will automatically compile that icon into your application for you. Okay. Very quickly, that will give us a second task panel. Okay, which was what we said we wanted. There's our icon. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce into that a shortcut bar. (18.3) Office 2010 black, so it matches in with the task panel. I'm going to go to this window. I'm going to resize that because now there's the task panel one. Now really we're not bothered about these because these are going to take on the shape of what their container. So there's our task panels, dead small and out of the way. And we're going to say we want a shortcut bar. There's our shortcut bar. I'll just go out and go back in. And basically on the shortcut bar, I'm going to say I want it in the top corner and I want it to full height. I don't want it so big. So we have a shortcut bar. On its content, I'm going to say resizable by pixel. You'll see what that is. And I'm going to create two bars. I'm going to call one orig, and we'll call this the original examples, and we'll give it a nice icon. That one, as good as any. That's one bar. Its content isn't going to be a navigation tree. It's actually going to be a code job control. And we're going to choose the task panel. There, that task panel. Just leave that set. That's how it's going to get its handle. Now we're going to create a second bar. That's new. And this is new for webinar. Give that a different icon. Its content is code jock, and this is going to be that second task panel. So now, what we've got, just to quickly go back to that window, we have our shortcut bar. We still have our two task panels, but they're going to disappear in a second. You're not going to see them, because what will happen is that will become the content of the first bar, and that will become the content of the second bar. Go to our example. Okay, we have our shortcut bar. We have two bars, original, and there's our task panel, and new, and there's our second task panel. So now you start getting an interface a bit like Outlook, where you can have different bars. You can fold these down, switch between the bars, just like you can in the Office and Outlook and so on. So now basically starting to bring in the different types of controls as pieces of content. Taking that one step further. Any questions on that though? No? That's good. Just to show, we'll put other type of content in there. So now I'm going to say I want the calendar control. Not that one. Yep, thank you. That one. I'm going to go with 18.3. Okay, black. Go back to ours. And I'm going to add a date picker. They're quite good. So I'm going to say, okay, I want a date picker control. Again, doesn't really matter how big I draw it because it's kind of going to be irrelevant. Those can all be the same and hidden out the way from a screen design point of view, because from a screen design point of view, they're not actually part of the screen. In fact, they could be over here. They could be completely out of the way. Go back to our shortcut bar. I prefer to go to the extensions in this manner. From our date picker, we want to tell it not linked to a calendar. So it's not linked to a calendar, it's just a date picker. I'll add another bar. This will be our date. I'll say select a date. So now we haven't got a calendar on here. activity. Okay, but we get the idea. So you would have normally have a nice calendar, so we'll have that as the icon. Again, it's not going to be a navigation tree. It's going to be a CodeJock control, but it's going to be the date picker. Now if we compile that, now we've got here, and we've got our date picker. And last but not least, the date picker is perfect for controlling the calendar, of course. So what we will actually do is we will put a calendar on there. We'll have it here. Probably do that being a little wider actually. Let's pinch some even, so a bit more room. So we'll have that, make it full height. And there's our calendar, and now we'll say we want our date picker to control the calendar, so we'll link it to the calendar control. Go to here. Oh, we should have really hidden those things. So let's actually just do that. A little tip, actually Arnold taught me this tip a long time ago, a very long time ago, and our templates actually make use of this tip as well. If you wanted to hide that, of course you can just press hide, and that's great, but sometimes you clone a control or you mimic a control, especially on the command bars or the task panels and so on and so forth. Well, if the control is hidden, it would mimic the hide attribute. So we don't want to change the attributes of these. So all we do is we just put them in a group. If we can find it, let's just create a group on the screen. Group hide. It's got no caption. It's got no boxed, and it's hidden. So now the group is hidden, and from a ownership point of view, we will put those controls inside of that hidden group. So now you won't see them. Like I say, our templates actually do use that same approach. They create the controls on the fly. So now we can see, oh, I've moved the calendar. What an idiot. Sorry, wrong one. It's the date picker we wanted to go in there. Right, there's our two task panels and our date picker, and they're all in a hidden group. So we go to this. We've got a calendar. We can be actioning our content on our calendar. We can say to the user, right, go and change the date, so they can actually go and change the view of the calendar, because this is, of course, controlling the calendar. So we can say we want every Monday in April. Okay, now we're looking at just the Mondays in April, and we could be going off and giving them options to insert a booking or go and find a customer, that type of thing. Anything that you wanted to actually interact with your calendar. So you're getting to start to see how all of the controls start to hang together. Now I know Bill's got a question, and Bill was asking, can they inherit the system menu? And the answer is yes, yes they can. On this example, we haven't got one, but if I was to, let's have a quick look if we've got one, which we could quickly do. Go back to this, and well, I'm trying to actually remember where the examples are. So I'm actually trying to find an old example. So examples, invoice. Good old invoice app. Okay. So we'll open up the invoice app. Now, I know this has got if that window had a menu on, of course it would be able to take settings from that. But I'm just going to do one with the app frame. Oh. Copy and referenced. Okay, so there's a crikey, that's terrible that. All right, there's an invoice app. If anyone remembers it from back in the day. So we're going to add a task panel, and we're going to put it down this left, and it's going to replicate these. So we're going to need some themes. So let's drop them in there for now. As always, we put the extension on. So we'll say it's the task panel. Anyone got any preferences? Well, let's choose one of the newer ones. We'll go with Office 2016 Excel. Okay, so now we're going to go with that. We're going to go to our app frame. We're going to add our task panel. Down the left, give it a width of say 140. I don't think we're short on room. We're going to create a group. Now let me just have a quick look at our menu because I'm not sure what the actual menu structure is. So we've got a menu. I can see one called Browse, one called Reports, one called Maintenance. And you'll see where I'm going with this. I'm going to go to our task panel. I'm going to create a group. I'm going to call it BRW. We'll call it Browse. You can give it an icon, of course, and so on. But when you come to the content, instead of it being user-defined controls, I'm going to copy the content to the menu bar. And I'm going to say I just want just the browse part of the menu. And it'll include options for, they basically indent group options. So if the menu's grouped, this will be grouped. So there was Browse. I think there was one called Reports. So again, we'll give it nice Reports. And it would be nice to give it a nice icon. I'm not sure there are any in this old invoice app, but again, it's content. We'll say it's menu, and we want it to be reports. In fact, we'll just do a couple, and we'll give it print.ico, which I know I've got on my setup somewhere. Let's compile that. Okay, and now we have our browse, which is there, and we've got our reports, which is there. So that is your task panel blatantly ripping off the menu bar. And of course, you can do the same with the command bar. So all the shortcut bar, so we will add a shortcut bar to this application as well. We will say Office 2016 Excel to keep it looking similar. We're going to add to the app frame. I'm going to put it to the right because we've already got one on the left. I'm going to put that on the right. Give that an option of 150 as well. And the bars, I'm going to create one bar. Just going to have it as, sorry, options. I'm going to say I want a navigation tree. No, I'm not. I'm going to say it's a system menu. Navigation tree is where you'll put the options in yourself manually. System menu. And basically, do we want all of it? And I'm just going to get it to blatantly take all of the options on the menu. Oh, okay, right. Let's take that option out. No, actually, that's not. I'm sure. Is there an icon there? Option? Yeah. There you go. Okay. For now, we've got a task panel on the left, and we've got a shortcut bar on the right, and the shortcut bar has taken all of the options, because that's what we told it to, off our system menu. So what we can do now is we can say to this, hide this menu up here, because we don't need it. It's just taking extra room up for no reason. So we go to our shortcut bar, and we can say basically hide the Clarion menu bar. And the Clarion menu bar is now gone. Now, one thing to note is I'm pressing this option, and of course it's still going off executing the particular menu bar option, and that's because all of the code and everything is still under there. So you would carry on having your code under the Clarion menu bar, but it would automatically be executed from under here. Any questions? I think we're more or less getting there. I think we while we're on a roll, we'll finish on the day on a high. We'll go to the command bars, and we'll add that, and then we'll have all three all on the main application frame. So just as I've done with the others, I'm going to say I want a command bar. The command bar has different styles, so I'm going to have it as on the top. I'm going to let it automatically calculate the height it needs. I'm even going to have it trap the MDI events, and you'll see what that does in a second. And I'm going to have it as a ribbon bar. So on our bar, we've got a ribbon. I'm going to have a tab, and I'm just going to call it options for options. One group. Options, and the content is going to be the Clarion menu bar. I'm not going to filter it out. I could have two groups. In fact, we could actually do that. We'll have group browse, and we know there's one called browse. One button per menu option, and we'll have another group of oh crikey, what was it? Reports. Its content can be Clarion menu, so it's reports. And then last but not least, we'll have another tab of maintenance. Maintenance. Oh, that don't look right. We'll have a group of maintenance, Clarion menu bar, maintenance. So now we've got two tabs. The first one's got two groups. That's got one. Okay. Not quite sure where that's squeezed there, but now basically we've got started to look a bit hideous if you want the truth, but you get the idea. The ribbon bar can be painted from the Clarion menu bar. The task panel can be painted. Let me just rerun that. Yeah, I was going to say that's not, I hadn't drawn those. The shortcut bar can be read from the Clarion menu, and so can the ribbon bar. It'd be much nicer if you had all icons and so on and so forth, but it was a very rough and ready, just demonstrating that you can actually get to all these should you want them to be. Okay, any questions, or shall we start wrapping it up?
Yes, Andy.
Yes.
Question. Basically, in your experience, when would you use a shortcut bar or a, what's the other called?
That's a shortcut bar.
And the left, and the one on the left.
That's a task panel.
Yeah, what would you use? Well, one or the other.
Okay. Now I haven't got a particular. I should really be able to show an example app, but it's not in a compilable state, so I would have to do it on a future webinar. But I've shown it on the previous ones many times. If, let's say, you only had a handful of options, personally, and this is just down to personal preference, I would put them on the left, just in a task panel. So keep the navigation to the left, have it so it can be folded back, so that's where you bring docking panes into it, or under control of your own as well, so you can just manually fold it back. So, but basically, have a task panel with just a few options on the left. Now, if all of those options are very similar to each other, then they can just go on one task panel, and you can group them. So let's just go back to the task panel example from a minute ago. So on this one here, we've got these groups: system tasks, files and folders. That's fine. You know, they all belong to just one task panel. So if you've got some options in yours, maybe browse and maintenance, that type of thing, you could put them all on just one task panel. If you've got something which, let's say you've got all those and you've got setup. Now a setup doesn't really belong with the other options of the browse and reports, because you want it to purposely be, you know, different and so on. Then that's where I would use a shortcut bar and put another task panel of those in there. I do always use, if I use the shortcut bar, I used to use the shortcut bar just as a navigation tree, but I've got to admit the users have liked it better when you use a task panel inside of a shortcut bar. And the reason they like the task panel is because they can move their own options around. We always give them this option, so we can say, okay, let them move the options around. So, and then we save and restore their settings. So they basically build up their own menus. So a person, from a practice management point of view, a person on a reception desk would want things like the calendar, the patient details, that type of things, maybe monies, financial. The person in a treatment room wouldn't bother about the calendar. They don't need to know about the diary. They just need to know, I've got the patient, I need their treatment history, I need to look at their charts, and so on and so forth. So they get to fine tune the menus to their own user settings.
Right. Okay.
So from a personal point of view, we, you know, that practice management system I did was quite a successful one. It was quite a few hundred users in quite a few thousand users in quite a few hundred locations, and it worked. They liked it. So I can only go off that. So because it was a bit of a success, I kind of stick to that model going forward. Plus, it still looks quite visually pleasing and modern.
Right. Got it.
Okay. Okay, Roberto's just asked one quick question, and we are going to have to tie it up in a second. But Roberto, if you could see if an RTF would grow in a docking pane, can you get the handle of an RTF? Is the first question. I'm not sure. We'll take really short on time, Roberto. We'll just have one quick look, see if we can see that. I'm going to have to start wrapping it up in a second, though, unfortunately. For the day where I needed to actually try and cut it short, we've actually gone over.
Hello.
Hi, Roberto. So just putting these styles in.
Ale asked me that a while ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It comes down to getting the handle. The golden rule of the docking panes is you grab the content by the handle. So if you can get the handle of it, then the answer is yes.
I haven't tried it, so I'm like, oh.
There's simple pay. Oh no, it's not that one. It was the one where we've got different Clarion controls.
It doesn't do it. It can't grab a handle.
So text. If you can't get the handle, then as it might come down to the type of control he's using, but it comes down to basically the handle.
It says it might not grab the handle.
Yeah, it comes down to the different ways. If you can try and grab the handle via an API call, maybe, or something like that, if you can grab the handle, you can dock it, because I mean, this is out of date, but this even does.
It seems that it won't grab the handle, so it won't put it inside the docking pane. So maybe it's something to look at.
If we look at that now, of course, it's not got the calculator because it's doing it by the wrong description. Where's it is the calculator, so I'm not sure why I didn't grab that, but basically it's grabbed the handle of TextPad, so it's a completely external application, but it's grabbed the handle of TextPad, and that's now running in a pane. So as long as you can grab the handle, it will do it. Get rid of that.
Right, but have you tried grabbing the handle of an RTF control?
So no, I can't say I have, to be honest.
Okay.
So, but that's what he would have to that's what he would have to do. Right, I've just seen the time, and we really are over time. So hopefully we've got a lot out of it. It's good attendance, good questions off everybody. So that's always promising. If it's okay, we're going to wrap it up, and I shall see you all. Won't see you next week though, because it's a public holiday here in the UK. So basically, yes, there's no webinar next Monday. So the next one will be Monday the 9th. So until then.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. I shall see you all soon. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, I forgot to say, I'll convert this video now, so the video will probably go up first thing in the morning. Okie dokie. Cheers, guys.